Because I've got you, I've got you. You're looking at the stars and you feel it in your heart.
We've been doing a lot of streaming from here from the last year. Actually, I think we've got a hype reel that we can throw to, showing off this and a few of the other spaces that Harry's had for those purposes.
So we're back with Marcus. Got another question for you, mate. Your background is live events. What do you have to think about when you move from live to online?
It's an interesting question. I mean, especially when we're talking about live music, we're trying to encapsulate that live experience and do as much as we can to give that to the audience at home. I mean, it's never going to be the same. You know, it's never going to be exactly the same. It's never going to be that vibe of being in the venue and the smells and the feeling that you get about being at a live show. But there's plenty of things that you can do in this online space to mimic that experience, the way that you shoot and the way that you light the show. At the moment here, we're lit for a very studio kind of feel. It's very open and bright, but going into a live music space, you want to crank up the haze. You want to make it a little bit more dim. You want to kind of come in with a lot of kind of close-up dynamic camera angles to give that feeling that, you know, the audience is in the crowd and they're part of the show. So the way that you shoot it is kind of similar-ish to the way that somebody would be viewing that show, should they be standing there in the mosh pit watching.
Unreal. How long did the transformation of this space take?
This probably took about 3 months to from being a kind of furniture showroom into the studio space. I mean, we've got a lot of equipment, but it's been evolving over that time as we've found different needs from our clients, different needs from the shows. We'll add a bit, we'll take something away. So it's ever evolving, and that keeps the Harry's team here on our toes all the time. You know, we're always just looking for, you know, how can we improve it? How can we do something a little bit different each time? So we went from not doing that much streaming from this studio to a show during lockdown called Delivered Live, where we had 3 bands every Saturday night and 2 comedians and, you know, and hosts and pre-rolled bits and pieces. So it almost turned into its own little variety TV show over that period.
What are you looking at from an influential point of view? Are you looking at other online spaces to get inspiration, like from that technical point of view as well as all the other stuff as well?
Oh yeah, exactly. You've always got to be learning. I mean, I soak up content like nobody's business. So I'm always looking for something new and trying to see what other people are doing out there. And the fact that we've got the internet and you can pretty much see everything that's going on. You're always able to find something new, and you know, whether it's just okay, how was that thing shot, or how are we engaging with the audience? What are you doing with the show? How are we lighting that thing? You always got to try and find those little bits of inspiration wherever you can find them.
I don't know if you're allowed to have favourites, but I'm going to ask you anyway. But what have been some of your favourite things that have come through and used the space so far? Besides main stage, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course. This has been the highlight. Of course, it's been. During Delivered Live, there was a particular band called This Way North, who I'd never really experienced before. Little two-piece band, guitar and drums, and they just blew me away. They great music, great live presence. I mean, we had some big name acts come through, but those two girls just blew me away, and I really enjoyed lighting them as well. I was given. They gave me a lot of leeway with what I could do with the lighting of that show. And other highlights that we've had in here. I mean, we do a lot of corporate stuff. That's where the money comes from. But just a couple of weeks ago, we converted this space into a fashion show. So we had a runway up the middle. We shot everything. We completely changed the space around to use it for a fashion show, and that was streamed online as part of the fashion festival.
Oh, interesting stuff. What do you think? Why do you think it's important for events to include an online strategy going forward?
Oh, well, that's where the audience is. I know that through COVID, we've all got a bit of kind of Zoom fatigue, and people are finding it, that they maybe, the feeling is maybe that the audience doesn't want to be there on their computer, but there's some conveniences, I think, that we've found throughout this period where I've been working with some corporate clients where we do press conferences and things like that, where ordinarily for them to get the journalists to come to them, they might only get 5 or 6 journalists because they have to physically get to where the press conference is happening. But hosting it online, they're getting 40, 50 journalists along to it as well. And I've seen that as well in the music space as well, that because people are just able to, they might be online and bored and see that there's something going on, they can jump on, they can watch the show from there. And if that content is free and available to them, it reduces that barrier of entry. And it doesn't mean that it has to be completely free. Delivered Live was anybody could tune in and watch, but we encourage the audience to, hey, if you went and saw this show on the weekend, what would you pay? And the voluntary ticket sales that came through that was just amazing, because people were enjoying the content that they were seeing, and they were more than happy to put their hand in their pocket and and give a little for the show.
I think live streams are here to stay. I don't think that's going to be, as we come off the back end of this pandemic, it's like people in person live shows are still coming back to life, but the live streams, having the ability to reach such a large audience is just going to be invaluable.
Yeah, and I think that bolting on the streaming onto a live experience is becoming more of a thing. You can put on your live show, but hey, throw a couple of cameras into the mix. You can get out there and you can reach a much wider audience who might not be able to physically get to the space where the show is happening.
We've got our main man, Steve Cousins, about to perform live for us. Do you have any tips for him in terms of best practice for making a live performance engaging to an online audience?
Well, it's all about that down there. It's all about that lens. And I mean, that makes it a little bit easier for a performer as well, because you're not trying to play to, this many people and those guys up the back as well. You're playing to that right there. So you can give it all right down the barrel, and the audience at home will feel it.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again for being the venue partner for Main Stage.
The things are